On. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leon's Corner. And today we're gonna pick up where I left off a while back on article artifacts of training. How are you all doing today? By the way, um, I'm doing good. Just it's been kind of a weird week, actually month. Hey, Cora, thanks for the alert. I appreciate it. But yeah, um, so today I believe we're talking about the Sega Genesis. I think my last one was the Sega Dreamcast. And if I remember also correctly, I said I was going to random pick and hey, but uh, pound pound cake. Hey, how are you doing? Anyway, like I was saying, yeah, I did say I was doing a random pick. So, um, the Sega Genesis, what I can tell you about it, it is a. It's being out almost at the same time as the Nintendo came out. So there's two controls. They have two controllers. One is a six button controller, and then the other is your traditional three button control. It was called the Mega Drive, and then it switched to the Sega Genesis, or I think it's known as Mega Drive in some places. Yeah, okay. The original Japanese name is the Mega Drive. Uh, it's the Model U, and there's other variations under this manufactured by Sega. It's a Type Home video game console, fourth generation, and the release date in Japan was October 29, 1988. North America, August 14, 1989. Korea, August 1990. Um, PAL, I can run this. What's this one? Thanks for the hype. I appreciate it. So, in Brazil, was released on September 1. Hmm? Oh,
Ad. You have an ad.
okay.
So wait, continue right after the ad. I'll give you the signal when the ad's over with.
You might stream, not just stream less, storage, stream.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so Brazil was released September 1st, 1990. India, April 1994. Okay, so the lifespan of Sega is 1980 to 1997. Um, let's also under my disk. Okay, so Sega has a, a 30.75 million, same as Majesco 1.5 million, Project uh, Tecto 3 million, Media mm, cartridge you some Motorola 68,000 um 7.6 megahertz, a Silo C80 uh, 3.55 megahertz, memory 64 kilobyte RAM, or yeah, um 64 VRAM, 8.8, oh, 8 or kilobyte audio RAM. There's so many components. Anyway, it is 16 uh 16 bits, so the music sounds so much better, uh, uh, uh already since the 8 bits. Great gaming. I mean, I remember having my, well, it was after that I got the Nintendo. Thanks for the sexy game. Uh, Not that I get the Nintendo, and I played something with my brother. He decided to buy the Sega, and man, that your traditional bundle has, if I'm not mistaken, two controls, the console, and Sonic the Hedgehog one. But there were other bundles too. The one we got was the Sega. Uh, Actually, there were two. There was one a big. I mean, the first model was kind of big, and that was, I think, the original one. But going back into the bundle, we get the one with Stop 2 and Jeopardy Sports Edition. And the additional bonus gift was a baseball that said Jeopardy Sports Edition. Man, I remember playing all that all the time, and I love the music. And back in the days, I remember when I tried to record music from the Nintendo and the Sega. I would actually get my tape and just put the recorder close to the TV, and I noticed the change between the 8-bit sound to the 16-bit sound, which sound pretty cool. More a bit more. Uh, it's almost hard to describe it, but one of the games that I enjoyed playing was Rocket Knight Adventures. If you guys have or have played the one for Super Nintendo called Sparkster. Rocket Knight Adventures is the second part to that game, and yeah, I just loved it. Um, I love everything about the system, the graphics, the sound, the uh, it's something I can really describe because I did forget at certain extent, but this was the second. Thanks for the hype. This was the second system that came through my hands actually. Um, because I made another deal with my brother, but that's another story. Anyway, there were other attachments to it because at this time it was a pure competition between Nintendo and Sega, and Sega had come up with so many attachments at the same time, which was the 32X, which you had to attach to the Sega alone to play your cartridges. Uh, Although you could have played it with along with the just the Sega itself. Then there was the Sega CD, which I'm gonna talk about some other time. It's another attachment you have to attach to the um, Sega, so you would be able to play it. Um, the games kind of weird. I mean, a bit more uh, realistic on the Sega CD part. Um, One of my favorite games was Jurassic Park, and man, once again, I always bring special events, especially when it's talking about my grandpa because of the relationship we had, and he used to always bring us a game whenever he went on his business trips. Hmm? Okay, so anyway, like I was saying before, one of the things I like is that my grandpa used to bring us every time I game, and but this time it was rather of a Christmas present, and boy, I would play Jurassic Park. I would play. I got my hands on Power Rangers. By the way, if you've seen the video, oh wait, there is a video that was with from the second one. But anyway, as I said, during this time, Sega and Nintendo were always an extreme competition to see who outdoes the other. Yeah, so they both started to come up with attachments for the for their systems, which was kind of outrageous. I mean, just like the Nintendo had that separate thing. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong because it's been a while since I saw it, but it was like no, the Super Nintendo was a bazooka. Oh, what was the Sega's gun? I pretty much forget. Um, but anyway, there were so many games out there that I enjoyed. One of them, there's still some that I have till today, not physically, but through emulation. It's Outer Beast. Um, Short game. It is a good, but it's a good game nonetheless. Mm, so, do you guys have any questions right now? I'm open. Okay, so there were a whole bunch of editions that Sega came out just to compete with Nintendo, and some of them were pretty cool. But then again, if you think about it, it was just some of them they didn't have any point. But again, Sega and Nintendo had been competing for a long time. And the only time is that Sega decided to withdraw from the system developments after the uh, Dreamcast, which, by the way, like I mentioned before, that game allow us to have a console that would actually allow us to play online gaming and also browse the web. That's why the other consoles started getting incorporated that idea of adding online gaming on them. But some of the equipment were really ridiculous. I saw there's the gun. There's we're looking on. Then there's A control that looks like a spaceship for some reason. There's the 32X that goes on top of the Sega. Then there's um, a mini tower. Okay, so it includes the Mega Drive. Oh wait, oh that's just a small model based on the equipment. Yeah, same as when they launched the Sega Mini. I still remember that, but they had so many add-ons that the I mean there were not necessary, but I guess that time it was just a race to see who had the best console. Yeah, okay, so the original Sega console, it was big. You could actually have the you had your volume settings on the side, your startup button on the bottom, along with the same place with the sound system, the sound um, button, and you also had your on and no, that's the reset. Yeah, that's on and on switch. Of course, like I said, there is that was fourth fourth generation, but of course there was another one more smaller, more slimmer, and uh, that was the one that followed the original, which had three buttons you needed, or two buttons on the front, the on and off, and your reset button. So all these systems have evolved throughout the years, and I mean, there's so much you can add to a system, and it's crazy. I mean, there's also a controller that looks like an arcade controller, and man, it's just insane to think of all the things we had back then. And I mean, we're talking about we're talking from 19 and the 80s to probably the end of the 1990s. I think that was the lifespan of Sega, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because the last one was the Dreamcast, and that was by the end of the 1990s. The 32X was Sega's Genesis, known as the Mega Drive. Um, Outside North America, it is a 16-bit fourth generation home video game console developed and sold by Sega. It was a it was Sega's third console and successor to the Master System. Sega released it in 1988 in Japan as the Mega Drive, and in 1989 in North America as the Genesis. In 1991, it was distributed as the Mega Drive by Virgin Mastertronic in Europe, OC Soft in Australia, and Tectoy in Brazil. In South Korea, it was distributed by Samsung Electronics as the Game Boy, and later the Super Aladdin. It was designed by an R&D team supervised by Hideki Sato. Hideki Sato and Masami Ichikawa. Ichikawa. The Genesis was adapted from Sega System 16 arcade prod centered on the Motorola 6800 processor as a CPU, Zilog C80 as a sound controller, and the video system supporting hardware spread styles scrolling. It 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 plays a library of more than 900 games on ROM-based cartridge. Several add-ons were released, including a power-based converter to play Master System games. And it was released in several different variations, some created by third parties. Sega created two network services to support the Genesis and Sega Management at Sega Channel. In Japan, the Mega Drive um, fared poorly against its main competitors, Nintendo Super Famicom and NEC. NEC's PC Engine. It achieved considerable success in North America, Brazil, and Europe. Contributing to this success was the library arcade game ports that popularity of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog series with several popular sport franchises and aggressive use marketing that positioned it as the cool console for adolescents. The 1991 North American release of Super Nintendo Entertainment System triggered a fierce battle for more a fierce battle for market share in the United States and Europe, known as the Console War. This drew attention to the video game system industry, and the Genesis and several of its games attracted legal security on matters involving reverse engineering and video game violence. Controversy surrounding violent games such as Nitra and Mortal Kombat led Sega to create the video game rating console, a predecessor to the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Now I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna say this. We all know that violence didn't started in video games. If we go back in time, there was violence way before. Then, as soon as we just start going along with the years, it became all over the media. So newspapers, radio shows, TV, yes, even video games were violent at the time. But to be fair, parents bypass that issue and they just focus on two things: TV and video games. They don't realize that there was violence already before that time. And I have mentioned this, but it's up to the parent to actually know what's best for their kid. If they let them do whatever they want, they're not gonna have control. And if they get out of control, it's gonna be worse for the parent. So whenever something happens where a kid gets hurt, the parent of course goes in and the first thing they look at is violence on TV and video games because that's the only way they could actually escape from reality. So that's why, if you have noticed, there was a rating system for movies, there was a rating system for music, there was a rating system for cartoons, TV shows, and yes, even video games. However, kids did break the rules that were stated. So in most of these cases, if they get hurt, the parents are just starting to throw the argument about the whole violence on TV and video games stuff when it's not true. They should know as well as all of us that that's why there was a rating system in place to prevent people from getting hurt. And believe me, I'm a strong supporter when it comes to that issue. So, I mean, I know it was off topic, but it did came in within the topic because people should understand the full importance of the issue and not bypass any of it. So anyway, let's just keep going with this, and please forgive me. It's just common sense, you know. Anyway, 3.7 million first-party Genesis units were sold worldwide. In addition to Tech Toys sold an estimated 3 million licensed variants in Brazil. Uh, Majesco projected it would sell 1.5 million licensed variants of the system in the United States, and numbers were sold by the system in the hold on a second. I just made a mistake here. Okay, so 1.million license varieties of the system in the United States, and a small number were sold Se- by Samsung in South Korea. By the mid 210 licensed third-party Genesis release were still being sold at games in North America and Europe. Many games had been re-released in compilations or on online services such as the Nintendo Virtual Console, Xbox Live Arcade, online, wait, uh, yeah, Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, and Steam. The Genesis was succeeded in 1994 by Sega Saturn. Now that's kind of interesting because Saturn was also one of those other systems that I think you have to adapt to the Sega besides the Sega CD. So there's a little history of video game development. The Japanese Mega Drive logo in the early 1980s, Sega Enterprise Incorporated, um, then a subsidiary of the Gulf Western, was one of the top five arcade game manufacturers active in the United States as the company revenue surpasses the 200 million between July 1981 and June 1982. A downturn arcade business starting in 1982 seriously hurt the company, leading um, Gulf Western to sell its North American arcade manufacturing organization and licensing rights for its arcade games to Pele Manufacturing, and the company retained Sega's North America R&D operation, as well as its Japanese subsidiary Sega Enterprises Ltd. With its arcade business in decline, Sega Enterprise Ltd. President Hayao Nakayama advocated that the company leverage its hardware expertise to move into the home console market in Japan, which was in its infancy at that time. Nakayama received permission to proceed with his project, leading to the release of Sega's first home video game system, the SG-1000, in July 1983. Well, had sold 160,000 units in Japan, far exceeding Sega's expectations. The sales at stores were dominated by Nintendo Famicom, which had been released at the same day. Sega estimated that the Famicom outsold the SG-1000 by 10 to 1, merging In the meantime, Western being the divest itself of its non-core business after the death of company founder Charles Lurton on pardon. So Nakayama and former Sega CEO David Rosen agreed to buy agreed a management buyout of the Japanese subsidiary in 1984 with financial backing from CSK Corporation, a prominent Japanese software company. Nakayama was uh, Ja- oh, sorry. Nakayama was then installed as CEO of Sega Enterprises Ltd. In 1986, Sega resigned the Mark III for release in North America as the Master System. This was followed by the European release the next year. Although the Master System uh, was a success in Europe and later in Brazil, it failed to ignite significant interest in the Japanese or North American markets, which by the mid um, to late 80s were born both dominated by Nintendo, with Sega continuing to have difficulty penetrating the home market. Sega's console R&D team, led by Masami Ishikawa and supervised by Hideki Sato, began to work on a successor to the Master System almost immediately after that console launched. In 1987, Sega faced another threat it- to its console business when Japanese computer giant NEC released the PC Engine aimed aimed great publicity to remain competitive against the two more established consumer electronics companies, Ishikawa and his team um, decided they needed to incorporate a 16-bit microprocessor in their new system to strengthen in the arcade industry. Wait, uh, hold on a second. Wait, so okay, it was established to incorporate a 16-bit microprocessor in their new system to make an impact in the marketplace. Once again, turn to Sega strength in arcade industry and to adapt the successful Sega system. Um, 16, okay, the 16 arcade board in architecture for a home console. The decision to make the Motorola 68000 as the system's main CPU was made late in development, while a Z80 was used as a secondary CPU to handle the sound. Tuvir said that no to main CPU would be too great if it handled both visuals and the audio. The 68,000 chip was too great if it handled both visuals. Wait, give me a second. Okay. Uh, the 68,000 was expensive and it would have driven the retail price of the console up greatly, but Sega was able to negotiate with distributor for the take of its price on an upfront volume order, which promised the promise of more orders pending to the console's future success. The appearance of the Mega Drive was designed by a team led by Mitsuyoshi Shiraiwa that drew inspiration for the audiophile equipment and automobiles. Shiraiwa Shiraiwa said that the more mature look helped to target the Mega Drive to all ages, unlike the Famicom, which was aimed primarily at children. According to Sato, the Japanese design for the Mega Drive was based on appearance of an audio player which 16-bit imposed in a golden metallic veneer to create an impression of power. The console was announced in the June 1988 issue of the Japanese gaming magazine Pip as the Mark V, but Sega management wanted a stronger name after reviewing more than 30, more than 300 proposals. The company settled on the Mega Drive. In North America, the name was changed to Genesis. Ro- Rosen said he insisted to insisted on the name as he disliked Mega Drive and wanted to present a new beginning for Sega. Sato said some design elements changed, such as a gold color 16-bit wording, because it was believed that the color would be mistaken for yellow. He believed that the change is in design are representative of the difference in value between Japanese American culture. The launch. The European PAL version of the Mega Drive launched in 1990, later becoming the highest selling fourth generation console in Europe. Sega released to the Mega Drive in Japan in, on October 29, 1980, though the launch was overshadowed by Nintendo release of Super Mario Bros. 3 a week earlier. A positive coverage for magazine families and helped to establish a following. Within 2 days of release, the console initial production runs sold out. However, Sega only managed to ship 400,000 units in the first year. In order to increase the sales, Sega released various peripherals and games, including an online banking system and answering machine called the Sega Mega Answer. Wow, nice. Um, okay. Nevertheless, the Mega Drive was unable to overtake the wearable of Famicom and remained a distant third Japanese behind Nintendo Super Famicom and NEC's PC Engine throughout the 16-bit era. Sega announced North American release date of the system on January 9, 1989. At that time, Sega did not possess a North American sales and marketing organization and was distributing uh, its master system through Tonka Dissatisfied. Oh, through Tonka, the master system through Tonka. Dissatisfied, disfa- disfa- dissatisfied, sorry guys, with Tonka's performance, Sega looked for a new partner to market Genesis in North America. 16-bit, uh, 16-bit system. David Ross made the proposal to Atari CEO Jack Tramiel, Tramiel and the president of Atari's Entertainment Electronics Division, Michael Catt. Tramiel declined to acquire the new console, demanding it too expensive, and instead opted to focus on Atari ST. Sega decided to launch the console through its own Sega of America subsidiary, which executed a limited launch on August 14, 1989, and in New York City and Los Angeles. The Sega Genesis was released in the rest of North America later that year. The European version of the Mega Drive was released in September 1990 at the price of, yeah, that's euros, at the price of 189.99 euros, which equal to 337 um, dollars, equivalent of 651 in 2021. The release was handled by Virgin Mechatronics, which was later purchased by Sega in 1991 and became Sega of Europe. Games like Space Harrier 2, Ghouls and Goblins, Golden Axe, Super Thunder, Blade, and Revenge of Shinobi were available in stores at launch. The console was also bundled with Outer Beast, the Mega Drive computer entertainment show. Oh, wait. The Mega Drive and its first batch of games were shown at the 1990 European um, Computer Entertainment Show (ECES) in Earlsfort between July and August 1990. Virgin initially placed their orders for 20,000 Mega Drive units. However, the company increased the order by 10 units when advance orders he orders had exceeded expectations, and another 10,000 units was later added following the console's success at the ECES event. The project number of the units to be sold between September and December 1990 had eventually increased to 40,000 units in the United Kingdom alone. Other companies assisted in distributing the console to various countries worldwide. Osisoft handled the Mega Drive launch and marketing in Australia, as it had done before with the Master System. In Brazil, the Mega Drive was released by Tec- Tectoy in 1990. Only a game, oh, or- only a year after Brazil's release of the Master System. Tectoy produced games exclusively for Brazilian market and brought the Sega distribution in Korea. Give me a second here. Sega management. Okay. So okay, so TikTok produced the management of online services and there in 1995 Samsung handled the sales and distributed distribution in Korea, where it was named Game Boy and retained the Mega Drive logo alongside the Samsung name. It was later renamed Super Aladdin Boy. In India, Sega entered a distribution deal with Sean Wallace in April 1994 in order to circumvent an 80% import tariff, which each unit selling for 8,000. In Russia, Sega officially licensed the console to a local distributor Forest in 1994, replaced in 1996 by Bateman. That year, the video game console market generated between 200, wow, that's about 200 billion. Am I saying this straight? Um, well, let's just say they did generate huge amounts during those at that time. The console sales in the country. Uh, okay, so Russia, the Sega, uh, in Russia, with the Sega account for half of all the console sales in the country. However, only about 15% 15% of the sales were officially Sega units distributed by Bitman, while the rest were unofficially counterfeit consoles. North American sales and marketing. For North American market, former Atari Corporation Entertainment Electronics Division President and new Sega of American CEO Michael Katz instituted a two-part approach to build sales. The first part involved a marketing campaign to challenge Nintendo head-on and emphasize that the more arcade-like experience available on the Genesis, which which slogans including Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Since Nintendo owned the console rights to most arcade games at the time. The second part involved creating a library of recognizable games which use the names and likeness of celebrities and athletes such as Pat Riley, basketball, Arnold Palmer, tournament golf, James Buster, James Buster Douglas, uh, knuckle boxing, Joe Montana, Joe Montana football, Tommy Lasorda baseball, Mario Lemmings hockey, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Uh, Nonetheless, Sega struggled to overcome Nintendo's presence. in consumer homes. Tasked by Nakayama to sell million units at the within the first year, Cats and Sega of America sold 500,000. At the Winter Consumer Electronics Show, the Winter CES in January 1990, the Sega Genesis demonstrated a strong lineup of games which received a positive reception for approaching arcade quality graphics. Graphic, okay, a strong uh, lineup of games which received positive reception for approaching with arcade quality graphics and gameplay, as well as for providing non-arcade experience such as Fantasy Star. Yeah, first model roleplay. Okay, in 1990, Nakajima hired Tom Kalinske to replace Katz as CEO of Sega of America. Although Kalinske knew little about video game market, he surrounded himself with the industry's savvy advisors and believer in the Racer and Blade model. He developed a 4-point plan, cut the price of the console, create an American team to uh, develop games targeted at the American market, expand aggressive advertising campaigns, and replace the bundle games, the bundle game Outer Beast with um, a new game, Sonic the Hedgehog. Japanese board of directors initially disapproved of the plan, but all 4 points were approved by Nakayama, who told Klinsky, "I hired you to make the decisions for Europe and Americas. Go ahead and do it." Okay, so now we know that the first game that was actually bundled with the Sega was Outer Beast, and I remember that because I've seen uh, actually I seen the original box with the original console, and it did feature the game Outer Beast. So I guess there was a disagreement where they have to replace Outer Beast with Sonic. And strangely enough, I find this ironic, but Sega's new mascot ever since was Sonic the Hedgehog, and I guess it's too because of this issue with the game with the bundle. Uh, Critics praise Sonic as one of the greatest games yet made, and Genesis sales increased as customers who had been waiting for the release of the international version of Nintendo Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System SNES and yeah SNES decide to purchase a Genesis instead. Uh, ins- yeah, instead of turbo graphics, 16 failed to gain traction, and NEC soon pulled out of the market. In the large part due to the popularity of Sonic the Hedgehog, the Genesis sold out the SNES in the United States nearly 2-1 during the 1991 holiday season. Sega controlled 65% of the 16-bit console market in January 1992, and the first time Nintendo had not been the console leader since 1995. Wow, interesting. Oh, the Genesis sold out the SNES for four consecutive Christmas seasons due to two-yearly low power price point and larger game library compared to the SNES at the release. Sega has oh, Sega had 10 games for every game um, on SNES. Well, the SNES had an exclusive version of Final Fight. One of Sega's internal development teams created Streets of Rage, which had bigger levels, tr- tougher enemies, and as well as recorded soundtrack. The ASC2 Entertainment reported in limited shelf space meant that stores typically offered 100 Genesis and 50 NES games. Then the NES was still the leader with 300 games and 100 on the shelf. Sega's advertising positioned the Genesis as the killer console and coined the term blast processing, an obscure and assumed graphic programming method to suggest that its processing capabilities were far greater than those of the SNES. The Sony focus group found that teenage boys would not admit, often outselling the SNES at the ratio of 2-1. Nintendo and Sega focused heavily on impression management of the market, even going to the point of deception. Uh, Nintendo claimed it had sold more consoles in 1991 than it actually had, and for a, a case it would sell 6 million more consoles by the end of 1992. Well, it's actually US install base. The end of 1992 was only just more than 4 million units. Due to these tactics, it was difficult to uh, ascertain a clear um, leader in the market share for several years at a time. With Nintendo's dollar share of the US 16-bit market dipping down from 60% at the end of 1992 to 37% at the end of 1993, Sega claiming 55% of all 16-bit hardware sales during 1994, and Donkey Kong Country helping the SNES to outsell the Genesis from 1995 through according to uh, oh from 1995 to 1997. According to a 2004 study of NPD sales data, Genesis maintained that its lead over the Super NES in the American 16-bit console market. However, according to the 2014 Wedbush Securities report, based on the revised MPD sales data, the SNES outsold the Sega Genesis in the US market by 1.5 million units. Okay. Electronic Arts. To complete with Nintendo, Sega was more open to new type of um, games, but still tightly controlled the approval process for a third party. The American the church party games. Okay, so for they control the approval for third-party games and charge high price for the cartridge manufacturing. The American publisher Electronic Arts (EA) um, sought a better deal but met resistance from Sega. They decided to reverse engineer wait not reverse engineer the Genesis using wait, the Genesis using a clean ROM method similarly to the method Phoenix Technologies had used to reverse engineer the IBM personal computer BIOS around 1984.
You are still going to continue or something.
Okay. So the processor began in 1989 led by Steve Hayes and Jim Nichols. They created a control room in EA headquarters, nicknamed Cr- Chernobyl, Chernobyl, to which only one person was allowed access. Mike Schwartz. Schwartz reviewed Sega's corporate development uh, uh, development manuals and tools, studied Genesis hardware and games, and wrote the original documents that summarize the findings. The process took him about a month. His work, his work was reviewed by EA's lawyer before being dis- disseminated to Hayes and Nichols or Nichols to verify or to it's yeah to verify its originality and subsequently to the rest of the developers to let them build games. After a few months, EA began developing for the Genesis in earnest. The EA founder Trip Hawkins confronted Nakayama the day before the 1990 Consumer Electronics Show, informing him that EA had the ability to run its own licensing program if needed. All right, guys. So thanks for coming back, and I'm glad you were here. Um, I can say is take care of yourselves, and till then, this is Ken signing off. Peace out. And no one.
Okay, yeah.
Kill it.